The bubble, make me the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea, mother, make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Wave up the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave up the sea, dissolve in the sea. Oh, I am the bubble, make me the sea. Good afternoon, friends. Nayaswami Hriman here from the Ananda community in Linwood, just north of Seattle. Today is Friday, it's October 1st, and it happens to be my birthday today, 71st birthday. I could be tempted to talk about my life, but I don't think I'll do that particularly, inflict that upon you. But I've been thinking a lot about this one sentence that Yogananda writes in his autobiography, a sentence often quoted by our teacher and founder of Ananda, Swami Kriyananda. When Yogananda wrote after an experience in cosmic consciousness, he wrote, "The divine vision is center everywhere, circumference nowhere." Now, Yogananda himself was more or less self-described as a bhakti, one who went by primarily devotion, but of course he was very well balanced, extremely creative and energetic, and all manner of outward things in terms of his service to humanity and to disciples. He was very literary, though not scholarly, as we know from his autobiography. But he solved many of the great issues, as I have mentioned in prior broadcasts, many of the great issues in, you might say, theology or religion in terms of ultimate realities about which people have argued for thousands of years. But again, I don't want to go into that particularly. But the sentence, divine vision is center everywhere, is of course a very, what we would call jnanic, or if you prefer, intellectual statement. And it by no means defines the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda, not even by the slightest stretch. But what I'd like to share with you from my own insights, not only is it my birthday and I have the right to do that, but this is my show. And I'm trying to share insights in general. What insights could I share if it didn't include some of my own? But what I mean more seriously by this is that something St. Francis said that I have not traced to its source as yet, but it is said that he said, "What you are seeking is what is seeking." Meaning the famous neti neti, I am not this, I am not that, and who am I? The admittedly jnanic question of know thyself is really what I'm talking about. But Yogananda, in fact, I pulled out his Super Cosmic Advanced course in which he talks about the transcendental way of contacting spirit through self-expansion, which is quicker and more effective than the social way of loving all and serving all. That's how he put it. I'm not putting it that way. And then he talks about the metaphysical. I talked on my last broadcast about visualization. He says, often during the day or night, close your eyes and peer into the fathomless eternity, above, beneath, right and left. And he goes on in this way to talk about expanding your self-identity into the cosmos, if you will. So I'm not going to go down that road because it really ultimately gets down to expanding your self-identity. And if you consider for the moment, as I have through the years, but just recently it's been come back to me, these things ebb and they flow, but when I look out through my eyes, I can ask myself, who is it that's looking out through my eyes? Have you ever noticed those, to a Westerner, those unusual, even bizarre images, especially I'm thinking in Puri at the Jagannath temple. It's the image of Krishna, Balarama, and maybe Vishnu. Forgive me if I got that wrong. But it's almost a cartoonish face with large eyes. It's not the kind of statue that you expect as we see in religion all over the world. But those eyes, and you see this depicted not just in the one eye, that's another way of depicting the same thing, but who am I? Who is it? If the divine vision is center everywhere, it means that God is not out there. It means that God is nowhere except in you. And that all we have to do, as I quoted on my last broadcast, is improve our knowing, as Yogananda put in his definition of what is self-realization. It is here, it is now. And the one who is looking is the one. And this is a powerful image because when you reverse the searchlights of your senses, the searchlights of your awareness, really, inward to the thought, or to the more than the intellectual thought, to the feeling that it is the one, it is God, who is in effect using your body and so forth to perceive this creation, to perceive itself, its own existence. And so when you look in the eyes of other people, and not just nature, nature is sort of passive in this respect, but I think especially of human beings, and the more self-aware they are, the more self-realized they are, so much the better. I think of Swami meeting another famous Swami who, it might have been Satchidananda, but I think it was Chidananda actually, in the Divine Life Society. And they just sat there and held hands and sort of chuckled. You see, there's not much to say when you realize the self. And although Ramana Maharshi in southern India was not evidently as self-realized as his own disciple, nonetheless he embodied that particular way very strongly, as did his lineage of disciples who came later. And so this idea that it is God looking through our eyes, it sort of automatically turns your attention into a different state of being. And it's a wonderful state. Sometimes when I'm brewing my Kriya and this suddenly happens to me, I can't do my Kriyas anymore. It's like, it's a wordless experience. And all of the visualizations, all of the Kriyas, all of the selfless service, all those other things are there for the realization, Tattvamasi, that I am that. That's what it's all about. The other things are, as I quoted in my last broadcast, using a thorn to remove a thorn and throwing the two thorns away. We can't necessarily skip to the top of the line just for the wanting of it. But so how often have I quoted with my friends Patanjali's obstacle, one of the obstacles he lists as missing the point. And so I offer to you that let's not miss the point. In all of the doing and the being, there's a Bible quotation in the New Testament. It's probably St. Paul, with all your getting, get realization. Well, that's not the quote, but that's basically the idea. In other words, with all our huffing and puffing and practicing of yoga and being mindful, let's go from being mindful to being in the mind of God. So when we look out, it is not we looking out. It is the divine vision, which is center everywhere. You could say the divine vision is everywhere and just leave it at that, but when we say center everywhere, it means that you and I are never going to know God except in our own center. Even if Paramhansa Yogananda was to walk by my window here and wave at me, it would be wonderful, but he'd still be out there. As Swami Kriyananda tells the anecdote how when he was in a room with Yogananda and Yogananda was speaking, not to him personally or not in regards to things that were his to do, that he, Swami Kriyananda, closed his eyes and just felt this power, this living presence of God. But then Yogananda, with a twinkle in his eye, walked over, picked up an apple from a bowl of apples, and then walked over to Kriyananda and handed him his apple as if to say, I'm also here, not just in cosmic consciousness or something like that. And so that is the path. Which brings me to my second point, which, I'm still doing okay. My second point is, how do we get there? Maybe the second point could be put into the question, the age-old question that we, as disciples of Yogananda, serving his work and sharing his teachings, encounter constantly, which is, why do we need a guru? The other day in my meditation here, when wisdom pours forth, like all those who really have wisdom know, but even a little taste of this inward religion will save us. But there came to me certain things, including that question, that was crystal clear. I'm not able yet fully to express it, but it's as if that as we turn our eyes inward, with that center, where is it? Center everywhere, circumference nowhere, with that living presence of God, it's as if a bridge is needed. It's hard to go from the personal, from the ego, from the embodied, to the absolute in one sort of fell swoop. And it's as if that absolute comes to us in human form, first off to say that it's possible and in fact does exist in human form. That's the important statement of the saints, and especially the avatars, the masters, is that God is realized in the human form fully, without condition, nirvikalpa samadhi, if you will. But even more importantly, as it relates to, how dare I say, me, meaning center everywhere, in this center, is that the guru comes, as it were, and the guru is the bridge to the one. That's the only way I can put it. It's the only way we ever put it. And so it's nothing new. But somehow in that meditation I had recently, the realization of that was dynamic and powerful, and answered really all the many decades of my head scratching, trying to intellectualize the need and the role of the guru. Not that I doubted it so much, because it's been my path of discipleship, but the actual realization of it in an instant was a great blessing to me. I'm not sure what I can do with it exactly in terms of sharing that, except that I had it. And so it is this thought then that no matter what else we do, if it doesn't lead to the realization of that indwelling spirit, then we're not even close to there yet. And we mustn't miss that point. The time for knowing God, Yogananda, has come. But we must do the work and open ourselves up. And if things like cosmic metaphysical meditations on the cosmos and the expansion of consciousness throughout the universe, as I say every day when I take a shower and recite the poem Samadhi, if that can help you, as it does help us, that's wonderful. But do not forget where it goes. The center is everywhere. Divine vision is center everywhere. But so far as you are concerned, it's your center. It's here that you must realize that you are not the doer, that this is divinity gazing out through your eyes, moving through your limbs, eating that birthday lunch I'm about to have. This is the realization. This is the spiritual path. Okay, well, happy birthday to me. And I could say a lot about that kind of stuff, but I didn't feel quite so self-reflective in that way today. Maybe some other day.